Okay. Memala from base, halacha base, as you say. This is a long, well, not yet. We'll see. Haya ocha be'eshkol. A person, what? They're healthy, but they're more or less. Haya ocha be'eshkol v'nichnas minagina l'chotzer. A person was eating a cluster of grapes and he went in from a garden or vegetable patch where one is allowed to eat tevel derech harai as long as one's just snacking on it. One came into a chotzer where one is not allowed to eat tevel if it's nigmara malachto, if it's fully complete in terms of the process, if it's been winnowed and threshed and so on and so forth. So a cluster of grapes really doesn't have much malach to be done with it, which is going to be a critical issue here. Rabbi Lezer says, since you started beheter, you're allowed to finish. Rabbi Shulmer lo yigmor, you're not allowed to finish. Similarly, choshcha leil Shabbos. Shabbos also could have vis-a-vis Terumos u'maasros, just like heter chotzer is. So Rabbi Lezer yigmor, Lezer says, since you started beheter, you're allowed to continue. Rabbi Shulmer lo yigmor, you cannot continue. You must stop and take off Terumos u'maasros before going further. So the Farshim Seya, the Kavanaki brings down here that according to Rabbi says Yigmor, one interpretation is that you were machlit. In other words, you determined the status of this food as a snack. Even if you continue to walk into the chotzer or continue to eat on Shabbos, since you determined this food as a snack by virtue of the fact that you waited it's still already in the garden, or you waited on Erev Shabbos, that's enough to make it a snack, and therefore you don't have a problem ever of taking off Terumos u'maasros on this specific food item. According to Rabbi Lezer, there's no such thing. Rather, the moment you walk into an area, a zone, I'm sorry, it makes up the street, that's right. Rabbi Lezer, when it says you're allowed to finish, Rabbi Shua says there's no such thing. Once you walk into a zone of Isser, you already devolve upon you the prohibitions, and you have to take off Terumos u'maasros before you eat further. Okay? It says more. Tamati, we learned over there. A grapevine which is planted in a yard. Noitos kola eshkol. You're allowed to take the entire cluster. There's a Mishnah in Maasros. We're allowed to take the entire cluster and eat it in the yard. I shouldn't say in the yard. In the yard, yes, in the chotzer. And so too in a pomegranate, and so too in a melon or a squash. In other words, you're in a chotzer, not in the gina. You have a tree growing there. You're allowed to take the food off the tree and eat it, stand there in the yard without having taken off Terumos u'maasros. Well, gina is not considered to be a makom kavua to eat. Chotzer is. Chotzer is a finished, tashmisha. Rabbi Akiva, remember, garger be'eshkol, you're not allowed to take an entire cluster. Rather, you can take off grape by grape by grape from the cluster. Uporate, and of course, take seed by seed by seed for a pomegranate. The sofes, ba'avatiach, and also in the melon, somehow you're eating it in sections. Why is that? So the Mepharshim here explain, because otherwise the halacha is that chotzer's kovea, by something which is nigmara malachto. So Rabbi Akiva says, well, you have a tree growing in the yard. What's considered to be nigmara malachto by that tree? When you take off an entire cluster, or you eat the entire pomegranate, so in that case we say that that's considered to be nigmara malachto, and therefore it can't be considered achilas harai. Rabbi Tarfon, I guess, is more of it's not just, I guess, it's a significantly greater kula. Because Rabbi Tarfon says, even though it's a chotzer, and if it were nigmara malachto, it'd be chayim and Terumos u'maasros mikra adin. Nonetheless, I don't look at it as being nigmara malachto until I assume it enters the house. Why is that? Because, again, it grew in the chotzer, and therefore it has leniencies in that place. Rabbi Zira and Rabbi Chiya b'shem Rabbi Yochanan. I guess, or. Do you have O? Oh, you just have Rabbi Tarfon, Rabbi Eliezer?
No, it says Omer.
Oh, you have Omer. Oh, that makes much more sense. I just have O. It's probably a typo. So, Chiv Sheri Elchan Omer. Oh, that makes much more sense. Omer. Okay. Rabbi Zira and Rabbi Chiv B'Shem Rabbi Elchan Omer, Rabbi Tarfon, Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Tarfon, Rabbi Eliezer. Then I have O again. Do you have Omer?
This Omer doesn't make sense.
Yeah, this one should be O. Yeah. So maybe it was based on the I'm not sure now whether it was a slip up or not. But anyway, let's read it. The first one's Omer, the second one's O. Rabbi Zia and Rabbi Chia b'Shem Rabbi Yochanan Omer. He says Rabbi Tarfon's like Rabbi Eliezer because Rabbi Tarfon holds that there's a kula that he are still considered to be ochel arai even though you're in a chotzer, and lots of Rabbi Eliezer says when you start outside you're allowed to continue. Oh, or another possibility might be to say Rabbi Tarfon oisa k'tzias ochel k'tchiloso. Rabbi Tarfon says, you know what? The machlokas on Mishnah is not necessarily the same machlokas I have with Rabbi Akiva. I have another svara here, which is when you cut all the food off the tree, that's only considered to be a tchila, not a gemar malacha, and therefore you can continue to eat even for the entire cluster. Rabbi Ilan, Rabbi Yasser b'Shem Rabbi Yochanan. Oh, either will say Rabbi Tarfon, Rabbi Eliezer.
Maybe it's Omer and O again. Omer, Rabbi Tarfon, Rabbi Eliezer. Oh, Rabbi Tarfon also
The truth is, now I like O better than the first case too. Looking back, let's read that over again. Take that out. Rabbi Zir and Rabbi Chia b'Shem Rabbi Yochanan say, oh, either Rabbi Tarfon, Rabbi Eliezer, either Tarfon holds like Rabbi Eliezer. Oh, Rabbi Tarfon also so either or, right? That's one shot. Now, Rabbi Ela doesn't have the Kavanaghi points out he doesn't argue. When he had a just slightly different tradition in how to learn how Rabbi Yochanan said it essentially, but it's also the same idea. Rabbi Ela, Rabbi Yatsi b'Shem Rabbi Yochanan said, oh, Rabbi Tarfon, Rabbi Eliezer, either I Tarfon like Rabbi Eliezer, which you learned, of course, a moment ago, or Rabbi Tarfon, Otza Achila Achas, Sheyesh, B'Shtayim V'Shalosh Achilas K'Achila Achas. Rabbi Tarfon says that even where you have a cluster, in other words, it's got several grapes in it, or enough for 2 or 3 portions, right, in it. So nonetheless, it's still considered to be achilas arai because people sometimes snack on more than one portion. So the truth is, it's a similar concept. In other words, ketzias ochel. That's what Kavanaghi points out. Right, the prior statement, Rabbi Zir and Rabbi Chia's tradition name Rabbi Yochanan, which is that oset ketzias ochel kitchilaso. That when you make the ktzias ochel kitchilaso, meaning that it's considered to be a snack even though you're in a chotzer, is a similar, although not phrased the same way it's for it, to this latter one, that achil achas shesh b'shtayim v'shalosh achilos ka'achil achas, that you can have a snack in the chotzer even if it's large. So it's a similar type of svara. I don't know if I agree. After looking again, I don't know if I agree with him though. Sounds to me like they're 2 separate svaras. That right, according to the tzad, that Rabbi Yochanan, that Rabbi Tarfon does not hold like Rabbi Eliezer, actually advancing 2 distinct svaras of what his svara might be. That the first svara, what?
Yes, right.
The first svara advances that when you cut down a fruit, regardless of size, that's its tchila. There is no sof by fruit. That doesn't matter. It's a kula. We assume that it's still considered to be in the tchila stage. That's one interpretation. The other interpretation is that Rabbi Tarfon is saying that even though it's large, nonetheless, so what? You can be a snack on 2 or 3 portions. I want to modify it one more time. I think the 2 svaras are necessary to complement each other. Because one svar without the other would not be sufficient. If you said tchilas, even though you say it's tchilas ochel, but you still have to say that, tchilas ochel though is even if you have large portions, right? And vice versa. even if you say that it's large portions, but you still have to say that these large portions fall into the category of Tchilas Ochel. So they really complement each other, these two svaras. Yes.
First day is stepping the
Yeah.
Look at the first Tosfos again. There's two shots as to why it gets called again.
Yeah.
So Bar said the same thing. It's really both shots of you need both shots to understand why it gets called.
Not two individual.
I want you to mention that.
Yeah. Okay. Now another tangent thing, another thing attached here, which I just realized for the first time, though we probably should have realized this earlier, is that there's another Rabbi Chia in the Yerushalmi. It's all over Rabbi Chia. Our Rabbi Chia is called Rabbi Chia Ruba in the Yerushalmi. I thought it was just like an honorific, called Rabbi Chia the Great. But here's this Rabbi Chia, because this Rabbi Chia here is quoting Rabbi Yochanan. So he's obviously a younger Rabbi Chia. Okay, so it's Rabbi Chia Ruba, Rabbi Chia the Great, Rabbi Chia Elder, and Rabbi Chia the Younger. That's this one over here. Okay. My time with Rabbi Lezer. What's the logic of Rabbi Lezer? Since he was mat and mascha beheter, so he can continue on afterwards. Tanya, we went to Brisa, however, the Rabbi Nosson has significant chumar in Rabbi Lezer. He said, Oy Rabbi Lezer mer lo she'amar Rabbi Lezer mishum shischel beheter. It's not that you started beheter, and that's why you can continue on. El Rabbi Lezer mer yamtzinu motzoi Shabbos. On the contrary, Rabbi Lezer says you have to skip over Shabbos. It means that on Shabbos itself, you can't eat from this grapes. What you can do is leave the rest over on Motzoi Shabbos and then continue snacking.
That's what it means.
That's right, Yigmor, but not inside. You go outside, wait till after Shabbos, or or wait until you leave the Chotzer. So there's a very big chumrah in Rabbi Nosson that he's saying that you're only allowed to do it when you go out again. And the Chesh Rabbi Lezer is you're allowed to go back out, but not that you're allowed to do it while you're inside. Okay? Now, we don't pass like him anyway. We pass like Rabbi Shua over Rabbi Lezer, so it's a moot point. But like Rabbi Lezer, it's a chiddush. He says a chiddush, a chumrah. It's interesting also here. Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shua. Usually, Rabbi Lezer is machmir. Rabbi Shua is mekel. So Rabbi Lezer was shamuti, and Rabbi Shua was from Beis Hill. But here we say that Rabbi Shua is machmir. He's machmir in this one. Okay, let's go on. Gimel. Hello, Gimel. Yain Truma Sheni's Gala. Now, for the rest of the evening, we're going to speak about Gilui. Yain Truma Sheni's Gala, wine of Truma which became revealed, Yishafech should be spilled out. It goes without saying that if it's chulin stuff, then you spill it out as well. There are three beverages which are also, if they get revealed, Hamayim, water, Yain, and wine, V'cholav, and milk. The charcoal mashkim term, any other beverage gets revealed, remains permissible. Kam ishuvi asurin, how much do they have to stick around and be usher? In other words, how long does it take for a snake to come and drink the water or the wine or the milk? Enough time for the snake to come out from a close proximity or a close vicinity, v'yishta, and drink and disappear again. That amount of time the water or wine or milk is left open, it becomes usher.
I never understood this like halacha. It's like halacha based upon
right, and that's why there's a whole long thing we have in back here. It's a whole long kuntras about halachas where the reason no longer applies. So an interesting thing I saw over here when I was skimming it, I didn't read the whole kuntras, it's very long. So it's very interesting. It says that the Chasm Sofer Paskin that since Bisman Hazeh, meat and fish are no longer a health issue. Chasm Sofer. So therefore we treat it as an Isser. And you can say Batal B'Shishim on it. Yes. Normally by Sakano we don't say Batal B'Shishim, right? Because Chamir Sakanta Meisura. But here, since it's not true, people don't contract, the tzaras anymore because of fish and milk, fish and meat. So therefore, if the fish is bought up b'shishim, it's okay. So I think until recently, in fact, the OU did not put. Now they have an OU fish on Worcestershire sauce, but they never used what? Worcestershire sauce. So they never used to have it. And I think their logic was that it's batal b'shishim. That the anchovies or whatever it is batal b'shishim. But now they actually put it on. But they were relying on the chasm sofer, which makes sense. What?
So why should I get over
But they weren't being mevatel the isser. It's not isser. It's mevatel heter. You can't be mevatel isser. You can't take chazer and mix it into heter. But fish is not an isser. You're allowed to mix. Yeah, there's a combination with them of that sauce, the Worcestershire sauce with the something else. So I guess that's my assumption. All right. In any event, so here too, a lot of these takonos, which were once also because of health, might be treated as isurim nowadays, opposed to sakona things. Right, let's go to the Gemara. Rabbi Yaakov bar Achon, Rabbi Shimon bar Bar b'Shem Rabbi Chena said, "Tavshel shebishlo b'mayim megulin." If you have a dish which you cooked in water which hadn't been revealed, you have the place.
Yeah, I have like an extra line here. Yain shel skala yishafet. Afilu shel truma tavshel shebishlo b'mayim megulin.
Yain shel what?
Yain shel skala.
Yain shel skala yishafet. Okay, wine which is revealed should be spilled out. Yeah.
Afilu shel truma. Then it says tavshel shebishlo b'mayim.
Afilu shel truma has to be spilled out. Okay, now the chiddush is like that. I'm not sure why he didn't bring that in the line, but the chiddush is like this. Obviously, that Rabbi Yaakov bar Achon and Rabbi Shimon bar Bar b'Shem Rabbi Chanina said tavshel shebishlo b'mayim megulin. If you have a dish which is cooked in revealed waters, afilu shel truma yishava, even if truma should be spilled, even though you're losing the truma as a result. It goes out saying that applies to chulin stuff as well. Rabbi Yosef said, "Mastisa in our Mishnah says this. Yain shel truma sheniz gali yishafech. It says it should be thrown out. It goes out say you do the same thing by chulin. Chavrai b'shem Rabbi Yechanan. The Chevra in the name of Rabbi Yechanan said, Yain sheniz gala, wine which became revealed, also l'ishos, you're not allowed to leave it around, because somebody might come to drink it. Shah also, what if you left it around v'ich mitzmeil and it became vinegar on its own? Also, because poison stays in. Snakes don't drink vinegar, but if there was poison in the wine and then it remains vinegar, so the poison doesn't just leave magically, mystically. Okay, so therefore it still remains ulcer. Is that clear?
Oh, it's very clear. I was just wondering whether it's scientifically correct that a snake drinks out of water and releases the poison. I have no idea. I thought it has like a special gland that has to release.
It seems like they had some mice. That's how they knew it took place. People dropped dead after having this stuff. If you have grapes, not grapes, figs and grapes, which became pierced by a snake, also l'shaisi, now not to leave them around because we're afraid he put poison into them. If, however, you kept around and they shriveled on their own, became raisins, then mutaros, because it seems like in that process the poison diffuses. Now here's a very interesting mitzvah. Varsei, the daughter of Reb Chia Rabbah, the daughter of Chia the Great. Be'asrei? That's interesting. Somebody change it?
I left the room where you could have taken. The reason I talked about the shiur is because I figured that somebody's going to say the old days.
Yeah, the Ridbaz doesn't change it. That's the change it?
I left your room and I picked the light
Whatever his name is, says Barte.
Who says it? Where do you have that? Well, I don't have those, right? This small one I don't have it. Right, okay, the one Zina or something like that. Okay, so it says the daughter of Chia Rabbah, the daughter of Chia the Great, have a menakros to retain haya. She would make holes in the figs in the house, so the bachrim shouldn't eat them. Because that way the bachrim wouldn't eat them, because they would be afraid that snakes eat them. Her father, would eat from them. So Leis Aser. So how could Rabbi Chia do it? Didn't he himself know it's Aser? L'daita. By his consent or his plan, I have the words Havas after she did this. But he knew about the plan, that this was the way they kept the Bachrim away from the figs. Fafilu kekain lo asir. Nonetheless, isn't an osir. Even if you know that it was done intentionally. Lokai time we learn raw tipo or noika betena. If you see a bird making a hole in a fig, va'achbar menaker ba'avatech, or a mouse making a hole in a melon, osir, it still remains osir, because even if you know that some other individual or animal did it, because I'm afraid that maybe the snake or the snake bit in that same place. So there's one not to learn havos. In this case, but between Rav Chia and his daughter, they used to watch the figs that no snakes would come.
Of course, this implies that they have to worry about snakes.
Right. And we're going to get that later on. That's explicit. Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Nachman, B'Shem Rabbi Shimon Levi said, Hachad, things which are very sharp, V'amai, things which are very bitter, V'amosok, things which are very sweet, Ein bo mishum gilu, snakes don't like this stuff. Rabbi Simon Rabbi Shimon Levi said, Hachad, V'amar, V'amatok, all these three categories, sharp, bitter, and sweet, Ein bohem, they don't have neither lo mishum gilui, now gilu, which you just saw, the snakes don't drink them, V'lo mishum yain nesach. And goyim don't libate them in the Mizbech, and therefore they have no problem of yain nesach. Rabbi Simon Mefaresh. Rabbi Simon said, Achad, sharp wine means kundito, and it's mixed in with spices and herbs, like sangria. Hamar, bitter, is plastinun, it's mixed in with absinthe, which I guess is some substance gives a bitter taste. Va'amosok, a sweet, chamra mavashla, it means that it's cooked. So hook wine, all these things the snakes don't drink, and they don't have yain nesach issues. Rabbi Shur Zidel havale chamra mavashla. Rabbi Shur Zidel had cooked wine, which was in a guy's possession. So they shol Rabbi Yanai Bar Yishmael. So that's Rabbi Yanai Bar Yishmael. Amarlei. So and he had the Rabbi Yanai Bar Yishmael said to him, Kenamar Rish Lakish. This is what Rish Lakish said. Mosok ein bo mishum gilui. If it's sweetened, meaning cooked, it doesn't have a problem of gilui. V'lo mishum yain nesach nor of yain nesach. Okay. Rabbi Yanai Bar Yishmael Ivish. Rabbi Yanai Bar Yishmael got sick. Sokol Gabi Rabbi Zir, Rabbi Yesh, Rabbi Bum Bar Kano, Rabbi Chananya, Chavrei and the Rabbani, the friends of the rabbis or friends who were rabbis, they all came in Mivakra say to visit him. Chamal Rabbi Shua Bar Zaydel Yosef. So they saw Rabbi Shua Bar Zaydel who quoted him about the Yaim Avushal sitting there. I mean, they said, Mari Shmaita. Here we have the person who made up the halacha, which is Rabbi Yanai Bar Yishmael. And here's the person who had the episode, which is Rabbi Yoshua Bar Zaydel. So, ask him shortly. Let's come and ask him. Rabbi Yanai Bar Yishmael said, Ken Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish said, Mosok ein bo mishum gilui. If it's sweet wine and it has no gilui, I'm sorry, they were Mako before, they were Machmir. Kereshim Lakish, here too, they're Mako. Mosque Mushum Gilui, in case there's sweet wine, there's no problem with Gilui. The low Mishum Yanesa, there's no problem with Yanesa. Over there, Rabbi Zira, so Rabbi Zira said, Dilma, you don't have the next two words, right? Dilma Midi Elaine. My Elaine. So it's Dilma Elaine, means the way I have it, it's probably more accurate. Maybe this is from those issues to Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, the Hachin v'Hachin, he had all sorts of sfeikus about it. In other words, I know Rish Lakish was matir this explicitly, maybe it just wasn't specific about it. Amalei lo, so he said no. L'uvda, he passed this way aloch l'maisa for a case, v'samchin and loving, and therefore we rely on him. Kanachtun Rabbi Ila Kanachtun, when they came to Chutz Laretz, Rabbi Ila, Im Rabbi Bum Bar Kana, Rabbi Ila and Rabbi Bum Bar Kana, Rabbi Ila is Rabbi Lo, in the Shvius, and Rabbi Bum Bar Kana is Rabbi Oven, I guess. So he said to him, Ilule Merachmin Shmaitza, if not for the fact that you guys like statements of Amoraim so much, V'la Masnisa, you should have known that it's a Brisa he. The Tanya will learn a Brisa. Rabbi Chia, Tanya Rabbi Chia, Yain Mavushal Shogoyim Lama Asur. If you have cooked wine which you got from a guy, why is it asur? And only if the guy is the one who cooked it. So therefore, when it started out being wine, perhaps he libated it. So to chametz shagayim lam asur, why is vinegar of goyim asur? Again, shayim mitchilas yain because originally wine, and maybe he libated it while it was still wine. Rabbi Yisrael said, "Mastisar makain." Our Mishnah says this: Hayayin v'chametz shagayim. Why is wine and vinegar of goyim no good? Only because it was originally wine. Rabbi Yami avile orchid. Rabbi Yami had guess. No, so you give the goy cooked wine. Here's cooking himself, right? Okay. Rabbi Yami avile orchid had guess. Amalun, so he said to them, Ilule. These gali chamra mevashli, if not for the fact that my cooked wine became uncovered, having a mashkilu chumine, I would have given it to you to drink, because he was machmer in this case. Amar le Rabbi, so Rabbi said, I say, bring it to me v'aner shasi, and I'll drink it. Amar le Rabbi Yami, so Rabbi Yami said to him, Man de boyemus, if somebody wants to kick the bucket, Yezu yomus go basei, yomus go basei. Let him go kick the bucket in his own house, not in my house. In other words, if you want to die by drinking this wine, don't do it here, please. By Yudne igla kundito dide. By Yudne, his sangria, his wine mixed in with herbs and spices, got revealed. As a shorler about it, so he came to ask the rabbis what to do. Armalei, so they said to him, sorry, you're not allowed to drink it. So I asked the more of Lochina, Rabbi Yitzhak Bar Nachman, Mishum Rabbi Shua ben Levi. There are Yitzhak not say name Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Hachad, sharp, v'amar, and bitter, v'amosok, and sweet. And by Mishum Gilui, there's no problem Gilui. Rabban in the case, Sarah Mishum Rabbi Chia Bar Titas said, it's interesting, Titus, his father's name was Titus. Ha'ud is shachik, chad litlasa. That's only if you grind in enough herbs that the ratio is 1 to 3. So it has to be a tremendous amount of herbs, otherwise it remains also. Okay? Boy, because it's not going to. Boy, kum Rabbi Avo. They asked for Rabbi Avo, yain shis basha, cooked wine, shis gala, which became revealed, ma'u, which we had now, till nowadays, some which aser, some which mati. What's the halacha? Armalon, so he said to them, Karina Tzricha. I'm not sure about Karina, which is a wine which comes from Asia Minor, which is very, very sweet. It seems like cooking makes it sweeter. And this wine was sweeter even than cooked wine. In that case, Tzricha Rabbi Yochanan, it's a Shai Rabbi Yochanan. Vatun Shaun Li, you're coming to ask me about cooked wine? Lo Koshken Yaim Abusha, certainly stands to reason Yaim Abusha remains also. If we don't even sure, perhaps even Karina remains also, so certainly Yaim Abusha is also. Or the Shal Rabbi Yitzchak. So he came to ask Rabbi Yitzchak. Amalei also said Yaim Abusha is also talking. Inha Rabbi Avo, and then Rabbi Avo remembered. Da'amar Inha means literally it's illuminated. But remember Rabbi Yochanan said Rabbi Yochanan also as well. Lashon Sagi Nohar. I mean, it's full of light. Okay? Rabbi Yaakov Bar Acha and Rabbi Yami B'Shem Relez said, Im Yanichnas V'Yotzim Mutter. Both the snake and the koi are scared off by Yotzim V'Nichnas. So, Brett says V'Nichnas, you don't have to worry. Barnatoisa, and then we have this Barnatoisa is godly, his power became revealed. Or al v'shal Rabbi Abaramel, he came ask Rabbi Abaramel what to do. He said, you went in and out, it's okay. Rabbi Yaakov Bracha and Rabbi Yami Shemila said, even if you're sleeping in the room, it's mutter. Because people are afraid to come in, and the snakes are afraid to come in and wreak havoc. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Chadamar Yoshe mutter, once they be sleeping, it's all mutter. The Karina Mayoshin also that to sleeping, it's also we don't know which one made its statement. We start with Rabbi Chanina Yoshin mutter. It makes sense to say Rabbi Chanina is the one who said that if you're asleep, that he didn't fall asleep, remains mutter. The B'chol Asar, Rabbi Lazar, son of Rabbi Chanina, Rabbi Lazar and Chanina always seem to agree. And therefore, if Rabbi Lazar said that Yoshin is okay, so Rabbi Chanina must have said it's okay as well. Okay? Rabbi Yossi Mishtoi. You don't have Rabbi Yossi. What do you have? Yes, okay, he just has Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi Mishtoi would tell over Ahenu the following story. This story has a parallel in the Bavli, I think at the end of Gittin, the end of Nazir, I remember which one. The Dorim? The end of the Dorim. Rabbi Yossi Mishtoi Ahenu, they tell this story. Chadi is a certain woman, Havas Rachmo used to love mitzvot society, the mitzvahs very much, specifically Tzedakah. Now, the next two words I have, which I don't know if you have, Ubala Sani Mitzvah, so her husband hated tzedakah. She was a tzaddikus, he was a Russian. Chazman Tzedakah Gabar. One time there came to her, I think the father wanted to say something. What? Okay, you want to stop for a second? It looks like it's... Okay. Chazman Tzedakah Gabar Chad Miskein. Once a certain poor person came into the house, Yavas kamei meichal. I get another cup of coffee. Okay. So the Yavas kamei meichal. You have this place?
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Yavas kamei meichal. So she gave him to eat. Argasha, while he was eating, Argasha's Bala Yislik, she felt Bala that her husband Yislik was coming into the house. So she put this poor guy into the second floor. Now in the Bavli, this guy is a Noef. It's a different story there. Here is just an Ani, he's a poor guy, right? So she put food in front of her husband to eat, and he ate. No, the husband was sitting there. He fell asleep and dozed off. A snake came. And ate from that which is in front of the husband. The Ani was watching from his hiding place and seeing this happen. Midi-eater, when the husband woke up, he got up to eat from that which is in front of it. So the guy was in the second floor hiding. He started talking to him and telling him, don't eat. Now from this mice we learn that Yashin Oster, even if you fell asleep, you fall asleep, the snakes are no longer afraid. So therefore you can't rely on the fact that while you're sleeping. What?
She says mutter, which makes no sense.
It would be bitmiyah then. The Amra Yashin Mutter. You want to say the Yashin is Mutter? We can't be Mutter. So it says more. I have another line here which somebody threw in. The Kashul Amandam are Yashin Mutter, and Civil Prepim which says Yashin Mutter. So it says more very interesting answer. Barare Hava. That was a wild snake. Domesticated snakes who live in villages, they know that people sleep and wake up. This snake, he came from Chutz La'aretz, so he was a country snake. So he didn't realize that people sleep, then they thought that they're going to wake up again. So therefore, this is an exception to the rule. But normally if you fall asleep, it's going to avoid the problem of Sakana. Okay, says more further. Now, getting back to the other question of Almas Maisa was what happened to the Yichud issue. In other words, the wife should be also to her husband because she's suspect that she secluded herself with this guy. Says Martin, famous answer, which is in the Bavli as well, became lo chasher al chasher, since he's not suspect on allowing the husband to die. We're not suspicious that she was mizana with him. The Chsiva says. When they have relations illicitly, so they have blood on their hands. In other words, then he would have rather that the husband dropped dead then and not have warned him of the impending doom. Okay. Ma'aser tabach, a moifus. The ma'aser is a certain butcher. Shemaichel Yisrael neveils u'treifus. He used to feed Jews the veils and treifus. I guess he had a hechsher, but questionable one. Once he drank a lot of wine and got drunk. Erev Yom Kippurim, Erev Yom Kippur. Oh, you have Erev Shabbos? Okay, that's not germane to the Maisa. Im Chashecha, Also not germane, but it was right before nightfall, it says here. Vala Gagi went up to the roof, the Nafal Mason, he dropped dead and died. He dropped and he fell and died. And the dogs were licking his blood. So they came out and started can we take one interpretation, which Pei Moshe says, is can we take away the dead body, which is mukta, right? Even though it's yantiv, in order to save him from the bizayon. Another interpretation, I guess, is to remove the dogs from around him, right? But can we take care of the situation? Armalon, so he said to him, no. See if it says basar basodet treifa, meat which is treif, lo tochlu, you can't eat, la kel tashlichon, so throw it to the dogs. V'zeya gezel saklovim. This guy stole meat from the dogs, and gave it to the Jews. Armalon, so he said to them, Arpuninun, leave them alone, the dogs. And they're eating that which is their just desserts. He stole from the dogs. The dogs are punishing him. That's right. Ma'isa b'chosid echad. So Ma'isa certain chosid. Megalgel is like mezalzel. Used to make a mockery and allow his wine to be revealed. So one time he got afflicted. He didn't die, but he got afflicted with some heat of some sort, of inflammation. And Verosa Yeshiv Darshi Yom Kippur, and this chassid had to sit in Darshi Yom Kippur, Utztorach Shemayim B'Yodom, keep his hand in a bowl of water, because he was so hot, which is not Isser in Yom Kippur because of Sicha, right? Not Sicha, it's Chitza. But not so it was a Mida connected Mida punishment, since he was Megalgel, meaning Mezaltel, in Gilui, so he got revealed that he was Mezaltel by this happening to him. Okay? Chad Barnash Igla Leikar of the Cham, a certain individual who a barrel of wine got revealed to him. Also Barovet Somal Rabba, so he went on Erev Yom Kippur, I guess as part of his tshuva process, the Mishpachinate to throw it to spill it out. Cham Seichad. So another person saw him. Amalei said, "Havi nihali nishtai, give it to me to drink." Amalei said, "I can't drink it." Vlad Migle, who wasn't it Megulim? Amalei said, "Havi nihali, don't worry about it. Just give it to me." Umari Ditzoim, and the master of the impending tinus, in other words, Hashem, Leikum, he'll sustain me. Ain't Tzoim Nechim Aladeis. And lo speak lemishte adis chachol. He didn't begin drinking until the poison made holes inside his entire body. Okay, so can't rely on Hashem. So helping you in these cases. Rabbi Rishem Rabbi Chia Barva said, "Kol harosin malin kol arsin. All poisons malin chatotin could cause skin afflictions. Eris nochash maymis the venom of a snake kills." Rabbi Yirmiyah Rabbi Zira, Rabbi Yirmiyah Zira, Morei Shmaitza, who was the master of the statement that if you sleep, it's awesome. It's awesome. Rabbi Zira said it's awesome. So Misnamne, what about if he's like dozing off a little but not sleeping? Rabbi Zira Abba Yosef Achil Baramsha. So in this regard, we have a look like this. Rabbi Zira was eating in Ramsha. What's Ramsha?
That's night.
Right, at night. Yeah. He was Achil Tzafar of Ramsha. I was just testing. Ramsha is at night. Itfei Butina, so his candle went out. Butina in Aramaic is candle. Vav Shari Damichin started dozing. So while he was about to doze off, he put his hand on a certain vessel called a tumnusa, a measurement of an eighth. So he said to them to be around quickly, at Lukun Butina, light a candle. At Lukun, they lit a candle, and they found Shfufina, a snake, which is very small, the size of a hair, wrapped around the tumnasa. Amarle, so Rabbi Zira said, Rishia, you evil snake, loving the Zoyabach, we are not careful and safeguard ourselves against you. So from here we see that if you're dozing, it's also because then the snakes come. In general, we have to take into account those things which people assume are awesome. Therefore, lo mitan barni because of sakana. Therefore, lo mitan barnash pitam go puma. Person should not put money inside his mouth, like coins, because they have all sorts of obviously germs. Sakana. You be chayshish for sakana. That's right. Okay. Right. So you shouldn't put a cooked dish under your bed. You shouldn't put a piece of bread in your armpit. Umita sakina shouldn't stick a knife, go pugla into a turnip, or sakina goes or a snake into a turnip, into an esrog, because if it gets absorbed in there, people are not going to realize it and take a bite out of it or sit on it or whatever, something bad will happen. Okay? Amar Rabbi Yosi Barbun. Any sweat which comes out of individual, Sava Mavis, is the elixir of death. Except for the sweat of one's face. Kachal Rabbi Yenis, when they asked Rabbi Yenis about this statement, so he said to them, Arva du nafshachana. Am I the guarantor for your soul? In other words, how do you know that sweat of the face is good? Who's going to guarantee that? Rabbi Yana said, this is the whole issue of Gilui reflects a common statement. In Zita, as long as a person is alive, Zita Shachor, his life is black. In other words, he's willing to take risks. Not like people speed, do dangerous, reckless things. Only in Ovid, a person's in danger of losing his life. Ovid Margole, then he feels as if his life is like Margolios, like precious stones which he would lose. Whereas the person doesn't appreciate the value of what he has until he's Garam is etzem. It's like a golem, right? Oh, it's a glima, you think? Yeah. Right, but here it's Garmach is like atzmech. Same because Garme in Aramaic is boat. So he lazvanta Garmach Ludin, where he decided themselves to cannibals. Hava Masinteres comes up in the Bavli also on tomorrow's Daf Yomi. Iluzvata Garmach Ludin, if you would sell yourself to cannibals, Hava Mazmin Lumbedomi Yakari, you would only sell yourself for a high price. But you would sell yourself off to cannibals for a low price. But a person, for in order to save some money and use his revealed wine, the Dami Klilin, for a small amount of gain, he's willing to put his life on the line. So again, as long as the person has it, he's willing to risk it. When a person is in danger of losing it, only then does he become unwilling to risk it. Okay? Tani, we learned, Ma'im Shadis Galu, what is it became revealed? Well, you're
The lesson is people are logical when they come to money.
Right, could be. One could say that too. Tani, Ma'im Shadis Galu, water which became revealed, so you shouldn't use it in order to pat down the dirt in your house, on the dirt floors. Shouldn't spill it out to a public thoroughfare. And lo yashkrem the goy, shouldn't give him to goy to drink. And here is the interesting thing, because we have Allah that you're not allowed even to kill goyim. So that's why you're not allowed to cause them death by giving them mayim magulim. We don't know for sure. The Rambam says Ritzicha, well, Tzirtzach, but most Achronim say it was just censorship in the Rambam. But we know that there is an Isra on killing Goyim. It's not something like Baal Tashkis. It's not Ritzicha. Okay, in any event, you shouldn't give to your friend's animal to drink this Mayim Gulim either. You're allowed to give it to your own animal to drink, as long as, now, the Mepharshim point out, it's where it's not going to kill your animal, because you're not allowed even to kill your own animal for naught. Right? It's not causing a monetary loss like you are with your friend's animal. It's still not allowed to kill your own animal for no apparent reason. And be it say about where you have no other water. Because if you have other water, obviously it's tzar b'al chaim to give your animal water, which is going to make them sick. Right? It's going to make them weaker. So therefore, say about where you don't have no other choice at the moment, or no easy choice, so then you're allowed to give him this water. If you have waters which became revealed, you shouldn't use it in order to mix cement. Should use the order to make laundry. It shouldn't use it to wash plates and cups and pots. And certainly should not use it to wash your face, hands, and legs, because it's going to get through nooks and crannies into your body. The only place now to use this water to wash is where you have a scratch. However, pana of your face is kasirtahin. So all sorts of pores. Russia exposed the other raglim, and so too the tips of your fingers on both your hands and your toes are kasirtahin. They're like scratches because they're very susceptible.
This thing about people have contracted AIDS, contaminated blood on their hands and
Untrapped hands, really? That's happened to people? That is frightening.
I read it's published in the Federal
Wow. Okay, that's right. That's the same idea. Ma'im sheniz galu. What can reveal lo yigabel amenasis, so shouldn't make dough with them, obviously. But you shouldn't do it. If you baked it, it's okay. Why? Because the poison is lost. It's sapped out by the strength of the fire. It's only if the baked goods which you put God as a result don't crumble. I believe my son fells that the baked goods crumble. It's a surefire sign that the poison is still active. Now the question is, everybody agrees that if you heat up water and it was mayim gulim, it still retains its character. What's the difference? Why by bread is a mutter once it's baked as opposed to water? Kana or sholid, kana or sholid. One case the fire affects and the other case not. So it's more no. Kana kli mafsik. By water, the kli keeps the poison in, right? The vessel which contains the water which is boiling, so it keeps the venom doesn't evaporate, so it remains in the vessel. However, kan in a kli mafsik, where you're baking. So in the old days they didn't bake in kalim, and therefore the moisture of the poison would get absorbed out of the bread into the oven. Okay. Shmuel Amar, Maya Seli Rashazu. Shmuel disagreed. He held that cooked water is okay. Said, what is this evil snake going to do to me? And I only drink heated water, and that he held was okay. Milsei Amara, he obviously holds that if you had cold water and then he heated it up, so then it becomes mutter. Rabbi Chayin said, Rashazu Daitaniki, this Rasha, the snake, he's spoiled. He doesn't drink hot water which became cold. He only drinks cold, fresh water, not hot water which cooled off. Yeah.
raising the temperature so they eliminate a lot of the
Yeah, but snakes is hard to eliminate by that. The question is whether snakes are revolted by this water then. Mil Samarad, this teaches Chamim v'Natzoni that if it was one side, they became cold, also mutar, and it's mutar as well. Rabbi Yevoshem Yochanan said, Beinzev is a Beinzev also, regardless it's also. Masisim Sai Rabbi Yochanan is brother, the Mishnah is right, Rabbi Yochanan says, Chamim calls Machamal in Hevel, Harei Mutarin. That when it's hot water, okay, you're not afraid of gili, only when it's actually bubbling. It's Mal Hevel. It's bubbling on the fire. But where you have water which is revealed, not vapors which are bubbling into the air. So even though you heat them up, they still remain osir. Tana, we learned, make kvashim, water in which you cook vegetables, pickled vegetables. Meshal's water which you cook vegetables, and the water used to make the lupin bean, harelu mutar, and they remain mutar. Okay, because snakes don't like them. Mayim shidich ben kavasim, water which you use in order to rinse off pickles, ushlakas to musim, or to rinse off cooked vegetables, or to rinse off the lupins. Harelu it's the water, and therefore it's also. Hidiach ben asar anovim bavu ovshim, they use them in order to rinse off grapes, and poor grapes are asurim, so the water remains also. Hamishmer shalyain, if you have a strainer of wine. So if it was plugged up on top, it's open on the bottom, a snake is not going to attack it. Because it brings down here, the reason is because A snake doesn't like stuff which drips. It doesn't like stuff which is stationary. So if you have wine in a strainer and it's dripping down, a snake is not going to come and drink from that wine. Okay? And he says the exact opposite. If the bottom vessel is closed up, even though the top vessel is open, mutter, it's okay. Why? Because the poison of a snake is like a roof, like a ceiling, and it stays on the top. So therefore, he says that that's a shita, that if the bottom was covered, so even though the top was open, it's okay. Why? Because if you pass it through a sieve, the poison will get caught by the holes of the sieve and won't go to the bottom. All right, let's have a shaloh tarf. When does it get trapped? When you don't mix it around. We don't shake the canister in which you're doing that separation. Avol Torah, but if you shake it around, also because then some of the poison gets dissolved and goes down together with the water. Okay? So far so good? Lagin Batiko. If a person has in his briefcase, literally means here actually a wrapper, he has a bottle of wine, it's mutter. Okay, the bottle of wine is sufficient. Mechuseh, if it's covered around ve'eno pakuk but not sealed, pakuk means literally cork but not sealed, it's also pakuk ve'eno mechuseh. However, if you did what? Yeah, if you did cork it but you didn't cover it with the additional seal, it's okay. If the cork was very well sealed, chutz here is not from the lashon of outside, but chutz the lashon of chetz. If it's shot in with great, permanence, then it's a mutter. Train Amoraim, well, two Amoraim argue about what exactly you have to do in order to use the cork. If you can carry it by the cork and the bottle won't fall away. That's sufficiently strongly corked. Doesn't be that strongly corked, but there has to be not enough room around the diameter of the cork to allow a darning needle to get in there. Okay? Amrei Mad the other tavus. If somebody wants to be Mahader mitzvahs, Pakukle umechasle. He does both. He gives it a double covering. Right? He gives it both the cork and the outer covering as well. Lagin shinichu b'shida tivo migdal. If you left a measure of water in a box, in a carriage, in a box, or in a tower, and you forgot the chazan matzah, you forgot that you put it there, and then you found afterwards, also, it's forbidden. I may translate this wrong. Let me try this again. And they forgot. I lost my train of thought. Let me go back a minute. All right, but okay. What's happened is like this. Later on, I'm going to see that in a house, there's no shmir, the snake come right out of the ground. But you put your your bottle of wine here inside a crate, and then you forgot it, and later went back and looked at it, also. Okay, because maybe the snake got into the crate. However, badak, if you checked out the entire crate before you put your wine in it, and then put it in and came back later, mutter, then it remains mutter. Why? Because you checked out before and made sure there were no nooks and crannies and crevices to which snakes could come in. Chat of dua asay kami kum Rabbi the chad. Chad of a certain story. Asa kumi Rabbi came for a Rabbi. Bechad was a certain individual or a certain snake. The cham say megali umachse. They saw the snake revealing a keg vessel, drinking, putting the cover back on again. It's a pretty neat trick if you have no legs or hands to use. But the snake was doing that.
read it.
Yeah.
5 parsecs or whatever. You always see snakes doing things.
Impossible for that. So he said about this case, because of this evil snake, the Kalkos called Gesum, we're not going to rely on any covering. Was normally kahil, the covering was enough. You don't need corking. Covering is sufficient. Here you see that the cover did not impede the snake. So it said just because it's one snake, we're not going to cancel the principle. Our Raimana said, Lo mistabra de lo. Doesn't make sense to say that we're not going to haser. And ahia uvda. In that case, the who also in that case for sure it's also. Why is it also in that case? Because he saw the snake. And in the case of Rebbe himself, you saw the snake, you can't put your head into the ground, right? But normally you can rely on Rebbe just on covering, you don't need a double covering.
The normal case of Shida came from Migdal is that it was covered.
We don't know. I'm Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah said, Cholav shel goy lo maser. Why is Cholav Yisrael required? Why is Cholav goy maser? Because they might mix an impure animal milk. And I have the two words, Vitani came. You listen to Brisa. A goy can stand and milk in a Jewish herd. As long as the Jewish guy is standing over his shoulder, making sure he does it right, he doesn't have to worry in that case. Okay? But you have to make sure that he does it right and doesn't put in other stuff. Right, I don't think it's dafka. We know Yotziv Nichlas is enough by Chol Yisrael. So I don't think it's dafka here. Rabbi Baba Sherida and Rabbi Simon Rabbi Shua Ben Levi both said, Chol Shagoyim, also why is the goy's milk also from Nagila? Because they leave it open. V'yamid, make cheese out of it because pearl poison doesn't ferment. And Rabbi Shmuel Bar Avnat Yitzchak, Inei Eres, or maybe in a Kovim. You're right, but the problem is not so much the right. It'll remain in the cracks and nooks and crannies. That's what it means. Okay. Tani, we learned Shlosha Ersinim. There are 3 types of poison: Ereshokeh, sinking poison; Veres Tzaf, floating poison. Now, this floating means it floats in mid-liquid, not on the surface. Okay, Verisoim, and then there's poison which stands on top, kisvacha, like a net, milamala on top of the beverage in question. But Yoimei the Rabbi Yirmiyah, at times Rabbi Yirmiyah is galin kinase the Sisha Rabbah, all the barrels in the base medrash got revealed. They didn't say a very big loss. Shas and Kadmoin, so the first people drank Lomais and they did not kick the proverbial bucket. And the people who drank afterwards, Maison did die. Why is that? And the because I say Eres Shakuaya, the poison went to the bottom, so therefore the people who drank last are the ones who got killed. Similarly, Palya Havin Bechakla, the workers around the field, is Galin Kusa Demaya. So their bucket of water got revealed. The Shasamine, nonetheless they died from it. Kadmoin, the first people who Mason, they didn't die. Achrean, the ones after Mason, they did die. And you go, I say Eresh Shokeu, right? That there it has also the poison dripped out. Die came learned also there over there. Chavitz Gauta, a bucket which became revealed. Or a blanket there which became revealed. And so to a melon which got pierced. And they're eating all these cases, even though the sakana, people came and actually ate and drank in that locality. Nonetheless, later people start coming and drink. And I say, Eresh Shokeu, perhaps there was poison which sunk to the bottom, you only get when you come later on and eat there. If wine got revealed and 10 people are drinking from it, they already drank from it. Nonetheless, you can't be the last one to drink after those 10. Why? Because I say that the poison sank to the ground there, and therefore it's also. Okay? So far? Shlosha Mashkine. Do you have that header?
Well, it says Chamisha Mashkin.
No, that's the next part. Shlosha Mashkine is just from the Mishnah. I mean, it's not that it's germane. Tyler, Chamisha Mashkine and Mishum Gilu. There's 5 beverages in which there is no Gilu. Hatzir, fish brine. Vamurias, fish fat. Vachometz, vinegar. Vashemen, oil, vadvashin, and honey. Shimon Oiser, Shimon Asers. because sometimes snakes drink from this. Yeah. Oh no, according to the Siyas, all of them. Where you see him making a hole, or nibbling around these substances. Papa had in his hands a barrel, not a barrel, but a container of honey, which became revealed. So he wanted to go ask what the law is. Well, he speaks Lashon, but he didn't get a chance to ask. Had the papas beyond it started bubbling in his hand and falling away, which was a surefire sign that there was poison therein. Rabbi Shmuel Tarvein, they both said, the land was given permission to split in front of a snake. Clearly, and not a vessel. A vessel can't split in front of a snake. So if like we had before, if you check a sheet of Teva Migdal, great, and put the snake in there, that's okay. Okay, says the Gemara, because then he's surrounded by a field, by walls. So now we're asking that topic. Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Havi Chad base. They were sitting in a certain house. Ulo Marmri was completely made out of marble. Armin said, they said, is it possible for the snake to come here? Bischami! And it was seen. They saw a snake. Armin, they said, Baruch blessed God, Shabacher Be'em Shnasim, which shows the Chachamim and Mishnayis. Shlomo said, they said, Nidna Rishus La'aretz Li'bakim in front of, the land could be rent asunder in front of a snake, Lo Nidna Rishus La'kli Bakim in front of, but not killed. Rabbi Yana Ava Midchal Minei Sakin. This is an amazing story. Yana was very afraid of snakes. He used to put the 4 posts of his bed in 4 containers of water, right, to keep the snakes away. One time, they stuck out of sand while he was in bed, and he found a snake right there. So he said, take away the 4 buckets of water. We see that the snake's going to come anyway. Hashem should watch me. Motto. How small a hole should be is there which passes the beverage, because maybe a snake got in. Rabbi Yaakov Rabbi Chanina Machul Bayacheni will point like this, Rosh Etzba Ktana, the size of a small finger. Rabbi Yaakov Rabbi Shimon Bar Vav Rabbi Levi Army, they both said, Rosh Etzba Ktana Shaltinak B'Yom Masocho, in order that it has to be a small enough hole that the child one there could stick his hand in. I feel ask what? The small finger, right? Ask what I feel we even have snakes. The snakes could even go to smaller openings. There's more. It's true, but lo yoda do nafak lo alo. He has to be sure that it's going to come out, otherwise he doesn't go in. Haden salta, I feel cotton kama also. A certain a basket hanging from the ceiling, where you think you have your food safe from all intruders, doesn't help. Even if it's a small one, it's also. Do all bade v'nafik bado. Oh no, that's the next case. I apologize. Haden slake, I feel cotton something else. That's talking about. It seems to be talking about that.
Comes to the and those are, mazel tov. You succeeded in being Mekayim the Din Torah. You were not.
Oh, okay. I was wrong. Okay, I looked at Kavanaki, explained it. Hayin Sultan means if you have a basket made out of woven. No. Like kosher klach and lulav, woven palm. Like the stuff which holds the trumas, the adasim and aravas. So says people cotton kamo, even if those are very small, it's also. Why? Because snake fingers do all about that go in one side, nothing about that go out the other side. So ever it's all also. Says more. The snakes are similarly if you have a vessel which is hanging down from the roof. Afilu do Italia come, even if it's very high up, Asura, it's also to whom because the snake climbs up the side of the walls and then swoops down into the plant. It's also if there's enough time. Yeah, it's a header. In other words, it's also there's enough time for a snake to get there from a nearby vicinity. So Ezu Makal Karv, what is a nearby vicinity? Says Rabbi Shmuel, but Me'ozen Chavis Lulapiyah. The amount of time it takes for a snake to reach from the handle of the bar to the opening, from the handle of the jug to the opening of the jug. Aren't you going to see him in that case? Mean cotton who is there's certain very small snakes, which is one which is called shvifon. The dome of the chut asar, it's like a hairbreadth in width, so therefore you can't see it, and therefore you have to make sure that there are no holes for them to get in to your hermetically sealed structures. Okay? So let's go back to the Mishnah. What's today's blot, by the way? I know, what's today's blot? Chaz Kislev. Okay, good. Shiur Mayim Amaguli. Back to the Mishnah. The shiur of revealed waters is Kadesh Tov and Amaras. If they're enough to be Mavatal the poison, then you're okay. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Kalin Kol Shein says no. Any amount of water or wine in a keli is also. Karkos, if it's in the ground, then as long as you have 40 saw, it's Mavatal the poison. But in a vessel, so it's also Gzeirud Rabbana, lets people not know the difference. Okay, back to Mishnah Tanya learns. Hamayim Karkos, water in the ground, is Mavatal the poison, Arbaim saw. A much more significant kula. The amount of water which would fill the flotation device, literally the jug, which is used like a balloon in order to allow kids to flow with learning to swim. If you have enough water to fill one of those, then it cancels the poison. Hayayin be'mekei be'mekarkos koshu. A wine, whether it's in vessels or on the ground, it's also koshu. If a snake could get in. However, a yain calls mashu tosis wine as long as it's bubbly the first 3 days when as yet began fermenting. There's no problem of gilui. Kamatai says, so how long is it fermenting? At shlish yom, first 3 days. Once upon a time they found the nachash next to a bore of wine during the first 2 days. He said it's mutter because during the first 2 days the nachash is not interested in it. Okay? Mayon, a well, a fountain, kosher moshech, a spring, as long as it's flowing, there's no problem. Gili, Rabbi Shmuel ben Moshe, Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka, Ma'aseh Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, Eitz Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka la'aba. We better stop here because there's another Ma'aseh. I don't want to get in trouble. All right, so let's start again tomorrow night from Rabbi Shmuel. We did more than 2 blot anyway. Okay.